Hey guys, welcome or welcome back. It's 𝒑𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈 here, and today you are joining me for episode 2 of redesigning your shiny Pokemon suggestions. I had a lot of fun making the first one that I instantly got to work in redesigning shiny Pokemon that the community thinks could look better. Now, I feel like I have to start this off with another disclaimer. Once again, all of the shiny Pokemon in this video, just because they're featured, it does not mean that I hate them. It doesn't mean that they're bad shinies. This is all just in a bit of fun. So if there's a Pokemon here that you enjoy the shiny design of, don't take it personally. I like a lot of these designs myself. This is just something fun to kind of play around and see what designs we can come up with shiny Pokemon, maybe that can play off of other elements, or maybe that we think we can improve on. Now, I do want to say thank you to everybody who left suggestions for the first video and for the ones in this video. Also, thank you to all of those who left suggestions that I still have yet to get to. I'm already working on episode 3 and 4 as we speak. It just takes a while redesigning all these shinies, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. And if you do enjoy this kind of video, maybe consider subscribing. I've got a few more that I have planned to get to you guys, so I'm excited to share those, but in due time. For now, let's go ahead and let's move on to the first shiny. Jumping into the first suggestions for this video, I was not surprised to see that there were quite a few people suggesting that I change the shiny for Tandemaus and Maushold. So I want to say a shout out to Dominion Flower, Zia, and someone that exists for suggesting this shiny. Now, I do think Tandemaus is a very cute Pokemon, and honestly, I can kind of see why a shiny would be difficult for this design, especially since in the original coloring we have here, you can see that it's very soft. You know, there's no real bold colors going on here. So for them, you know, they changed the shiny, which is up here, the shiny which has, instead of like the blue little clothing looking markings, they turn yellow, which I think is cute. But I did actually have a really fun idea for this shiny. Now, people might hate this, but I thought it would be really cool to turn Tandemaus into like a little Pikachu, at least for the shiny. Now, I wanted to start off this video with something a little bit crazy, a little bit out there. Now, I feel like I have to say, I don't think this is a shiny Pokemon would ever do. I feel like turning any Pokemon shiny to look like Pikachu would just be complete chaos, to be completely honest with you. But I thought, considering, you know, Pikachu is like an electric mouse. I know Tandemaus is not electric type. I know that they are just normal, but they are a mouse. So I thought it would be kind of fun to make them look like little Pikachus. Also, I think a part of the reason why I felt inspired by this is because their little tails to me almost look like little plugs. And I don't know why, but I was like, oh, I could play off of this a little bit and like make it look like an electric mouse. Who is the electric mouse? Well, it's Pikachu. But I decided for the tails, instead of just making them look like outlets, I wanted to make them like little Pokeballs. So like in my mind, it was sort of like one of the Tandemaus has like the top of the Pokeball, and then the other one has the bottom, and then when they stand together, it makes like a Pokeball. At least that was my hope. I don't know if I was able to completely translate that in the design, but that is what I was going for. And I think it's really fun. But I will say, I did do something a little bit different when I did Maushold, which I will show you guys now. So now moving on to Maushold. Now, as you can see, it's like Tandemaus, but now we got some cute little babies. And once again, the shiny does sort of follow the same pattern. It literally does follow the same pattern as its prior evolution. Even on the little like baby mice or Mausholds, you can't really see much of a change, I feel, from the originals. Maybe there's a slight hue of yellow, but I think the thing that people don't like about this design is just how subtle it is. So I wanted to do 2 different renditions for this shiny. I decided to do my original color scheme for the shiny, which I just had a lot of fun with, which was Pikachu. I don't know, I couldn't help myself but attempt to do little Pikachu, little Pikachus for the Tandemaus, and then for the little babies that make a Maushold, I wanted to do Pichu colorings. I just thought it would be super cute. I did even contemplate making one of them like a notch ear, but I decided against it because I felt like it would change the overall design a little too much. So I try to refrain from doing that as much this time, but I do think it's really cute. Let me know, do you like this or do you prefer this? Boom. I decided for this one, I thought of doing like a really bold color, but in the end, I think the thing I like about Maushold and Tandemaus is I like that they're relatively simple. Like, they are just some mice and they're very cute for that. But I think for the shiny, I wanted to keep the color change, you know, either go really bold with something like the Pikachu looking design, which I don't think they'd ever do, but this is something I could definitely see them doing, and having them all be like the little brown mice, I don't know. Something about this is really cute. I don't know if you guys are gonna see this, but to me, it's kind of giving like calico critters. You know, those little like figure thingies, the little animal figures. I don't know why, but something about it I really, really like. They look like a bunch of little woodland mice to me, and I appreciate that with this shiny. So which do you prefer? The super bold yellow Pikachu-esque shiny, or do you prefer the brown, or do you like the original more? I'm curious to see what you guys will say. Now here we have another evolution that was suggested to me for a change. I am gonna say it, I actually do like Espeon shiny, but I think the thing that I kind of gathered from the general consensus of people from my time hunting Espeon and just comments over the years is that Espeon has a very, very loud shiny, and you either like that or you don't. A lot of people describe it as being like, which I think is actually kind of cool. But I did get quite a few suggestions to change this one up, and those were from Luna. I'm 18. I don't... What a strange name. Blissful, Mike, I guess, and Saturn. So I was expecting to get a few suggestions for different evolutions. As I said, Glaceon and Leafeon did make sense to me. While I can appreciate their designs, I understood why people felt the way that they did about them. So I was kind of anticipating, you know, rather than the shinies that don't really change, like I said, I was expecting a lot of shinies that also have very dramatic changes that people don't agree with. So for this one, I did 2 different designs again. I kind of got carried away this time with doing a few multiple designs for some of these shinies. I feel like the obvious thing to do was I tried to make a new shiny that matched shiny Umbreon, because in my mind, I used to see Umbreon and Espeon as like a pair, at least back in the day, and I always thought they were so cute, and I always have really, really liked Umbreon shiny. Some people say it's overrated. I don't think it is. I think it looks really, really nice. That's just my opinion though. But a lot of people do like the shiny, so I thought, why not take a color palette that works from one Pokemon and try and apply it to this and see how it looks. And admittedly, I do think this looks really, really cool. It looks very sleek. It makes Espeon look like a shadow to me, which I think is really fun. But I also did do one other color swap, and this is sort of the way that I think I would like Espeon shiny to look, if I'm being honest. And this is it. Okay, I don't really know how to describe the color of the body. I guess you could say it's like a gray, ghostly looking blue, which I think looks really nice, but it's not the same blue that, you know, you do get on like Umbreon. It's definitely its own sort of color, which I think looks really good. And I wanted to do pink accents against the blue because I felt like it would complement the different shades really, really well. It leaves Espeon still looking very sleek to me, very cutesy still, but also elegant. I don't know. To me, for some reason, I put these colors together and I loved how it looked. It still, to me, feels like it has that psychic typing this way, which I can really appreciate. I do think a lot of people are going to probably prefer the black, as I've said, and I will say again, I feel colors like black and white just look good for any Pokemon. They're just solid bases, but I didn't want to just cop out and only do black because I feel like I could do that for every Pokemon and it would look incredible. So I feel like for a functional shiny change, something that is different but is not as loud as the original Espeon, this is what I went with. So let me know what you think. Now, speaking of a shiny that a lot of people really don't like, we have Gholdengo, and this was suggested by Iona Best, Anything Bagel, Shimmering Shiny Vaporeon, and Someone That Exists. What a great name. Now, I feel like a lot of people for this one, yeah, you can understand why people don't feel too incredibly about this shiny. It almost barely changes. I think the only thing that changes with the shiny is you can see here in the original, the trims are like a deeper sort of goldy bronze, whereas the body in this kind of turn a little bit more silver. But I agree with this suggestion saying, I think Gholdengo shiny would look cool if it was silver, so of course I opted to do that. And yeah, it's a much better change. I would be so stoked to do the 1 in 4096 shiny odd hunt for this shiny if this is what it looked like, because it's so bold. It suits the design really, really well. I did also decide to make an alternate version of this shiny, and I also made a bronze version too, just because I thought it would be cool to see all 3 lined up. So let me know, which one do you prefer? Do you like the silver? Do you like the bronze? I think I like the silver. I think I'm in agreement with you guys. I just thought it'd be fun to play around with a different colorway, but overall, I think this is a huge improvement to the design. Next up, we have a really fun suggestion that was from Vulture to change Malamar shiny. Now, I actually think Malamar shiny, while it's probably not the most like boom in your face shiny, I think it actually works really, really well for Malamar's, you know, creepy, psychic squid sort of look. I actually don't mind it, I'm gonna be honest, but I did have fun actually playing around with some different color coloring for this one. I decided for this one that I wanted to play off of its typing a little bit here and the actual species it's supposed to be based on. So I kind of took a little bit of inspiration from the Minecraft glow squid, and I wanted to give it a glowing center body. I thought that this would look really, really cool for this, especially in my mind, because I imagine Malamar being like the creepy squid at the bottom of the ocean waiting to attack its prey, which I think makes it really, really cool. I decided to black out the eyes because I really did like that with the 𝒔𝒊𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈 design, and I think for eyes that are a little bit more unique or maybe a little difficult to change, I think it works really well, and I think it works well with this typing. I also do enjoy a lot of the original elements from Malamar's original colorway, so I played around with these colors and reassembled them in different ways. I also did, like I said, enjoy the bit of like a green that Malamar had, which is why I was inspired to do the glow like a green color, and I think overall these colors complement each other really, really well. I know that this is a more bold shiny for me, but I personally do really like this. I will be curious to see which you prefer, the original or the newer design. I feel like people are going to probably like the original more than what I've done here, because what I've done here is, as I said, very, very bold. But for me, something about these colors with Malamar's design, I just think it looks so cool. So yeah, I'm not mad at this one. All right, for the next one, I have a double suggestion here that was from Phoenix. Now, Phoenix wanted me to work on the Cosmog line. Now, I didn't do Lunala or Solgaleo simply because I didn't know if you specifically wanted me to also design their legendaries, because I do think that they are a lot more bold and they do change a lot more. But I did decide to move forward with doing Cosmog and Cosmoem. Nevi, get in the bag. Now, as you can see, Cosmog is definitely more of a subtle shiny here, with only really the cheeks sort of changing, which I still think it's cute. This is a nice color palette, but it would be very hard to flip. And Cosmoem is definitely more obvious. And I think if you consider what Lunala and Solgaleo and the Dawnwing Duskmane shinies look like, this color palette does actually make a lot of sense. But I wanted to change them up a little bit, not regarding their final evolutions, just what I thought would look good for them as a base. And this is what I came up with. This. Now, I originally did think about playing around with making these shinies more like black and red and doing that sort of colorway, but I don't know. To me, Cosmog and Cosmoem have always sort of represented space, and I think the thing that I really appreciate about their design is like that sort of starry, pretty night sky that we see. And so I wanted to sort of take it and cool their designs down, because I thought about the further like you get into space, typically I believe like the darker it is. So I wanted to cool their designs down in order to kind of mimic that. That's what I felt would look the best for the shinies, at least. So my inspiration was sort of getting into deeper space. Things are getting cooler, you know, there's less around. It's more blending, I guess, with the blues and the blacks, I guess, of space. So that is the inspiration behind these shiny redesigns. I really do like Cosmog. I love the face. I think it came out really good. But I have to say, I think for me, I'm even more pleased with how Cosmoem came out. I think it looks very, I don't know, something about its design looks like it's been isolated in space, waiting for thousands and thousands and maybe even millions of years, floating around waiting for its moment to finally evolve and become, you know, either Solgaleo or Lunala, which to me really felt fun for this design and for these shinies. And I think that that's kind of the thing I went with for this. I just wanted to keep with the story of them representing space to me, and that is why I came up with these designs. It's meant to sort of be like cool, or the coldness of space. I don't know. I really like them. I'm really happy with how they came out. To me, I think that they are an improvement. Like I said, I love Cosmoem shiny already, but I think for this, I don't know, I can't stop looking at it. Oh man, if this was Cosmoem shiny, I would be so stoked. Also, speaking of Tandemaus and Maushold, back at the beginning of the video, I was actually suggested, it pains my heart, I was suggested by Vix to change up shiny Pikachu. Now, I think my community knows me pretty well. I have a very unpopular opinion that I weirdly like shiny Pikachu. Typically, my least favorite shinies are the ones that hardly change, but for some reason, for me, I like that for Pikachu. I think it works well, and to me, when I see a shiny Pikachu, I can pretty much immediately tell it's shiny, so I think it changes enough. But I will say, this was probably, aside from the next Pokemon, this was probably one of the hardest shiny Pokemon for me to redesign. Namely because I wanted to keep Pikachu looking as iconic as ever, but seeing Pikachu in other colors kind of looks a little bootleg to me. So I really struggled. I think I recolored this like, I want to say like 10 or 11 times, and I just wasn't happy. And I will say I did try to refrain from doing the common blackout or whiteout. And admittedly, I have to say, I think going for like a blacked out or shadow Pikachu was ultimately what I think looked best. So let me show you what I came up with. It's the Shadow Chew. No, but I think overall with all of the colors, because Pikachu is so iconic and it's yellow, that's such already like a bold color, but it fits so well for this design. I struggled so much with making any other color look right. Any reds or oranges or pink looked too like fleshy. Blues and greens looked too like, oh, this is Perkama, not Pokemon. And so I decided in the end it was either between white or black. And I think for me, the black looks a little bit more clean, a little bit more classy for our little electric rodent. And I wanted to keep an element of the yellow that makes Pikachu so iconic. So I decided to make the cheeks a yellow color as well as the little color parts of the eyes. I can't think of the word for that right now. But I think overall this does look pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, this was a really, really tricky one for me to color. I don't know why I struggled so much with it. Like I said, I wanted to keep the essence of Pikachu, but also make it a shiny that was an improvement to the original and wasn't too loud, wasn't too crazy. And I think that this is the best I can come up with. I might be the most unsure on this one, but let me know what you think. What would you do for a shiny Pikachu? Like if you were going to redesign it, what would you do? Because I am so stuck on this one. Our next shiny switch up is a recommendation from the 𝒑𝒐𝒌𝒆𝒔𝒊𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈, and that is for Zigzagoon. Now, as you might have just heard me saying, the next Pokemon that I had to redesign, this one, Zigzagoon, has probably been the most challenging shiny for me to redesign. And the main reason is because we do have Galarian Zigzagoon, which is probably what my brain would have wanted to do with the Zigzagoon's design. The black and white looks so good. And then I thought, oh, well, maybe I could just do like another alternating color. And then I ended up coming up with something that looked very similar to shiny Zigzagoon. I did like a pink and white kind of amalgamation. I was like, no, this is too similar. So I wanted to branch out and do something pretty different. And you're gonna have to forgive me, but I ended up making a little ghost-looking Zigzagoon. I will say, I played around with so many colorways for this one as well. I actually originally wanted to make it like a rainbow, and it was very, very loud, but I did think it would be kind of cool. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe next I'll do something like a green Zigzagoon. So I played around with that because I was like, oh, well, you know, it's a Route 1 Pokemon. Typically, it's going to be hiding in the grass. So making it, you know, have a green design would work really, really well for like hiding, but it just didn't look right. So I decided to kind of take a little bit of inspiration, I guess, from an actual like badger. And I wanted to go with a more cool tone look for this shiny, which is why I ended up going with like this purple blue steel kind of look, but I still wanted to have a little bit of a pop of color in there. So I decided to do some gold eyes because in my mind, this sort of made Zigzagoon look a little bit nocturnal, and having those gold little eyes, just imagine them peeping at you from the grass at nighttime. I don't know. I thought it would be really cool. Overall, I am really happy with this shiny. I am still a little bit unsure if maybe it would have been cool to do like the pink and white, or if I should have stayed away from it. I did think, is it too close to the original shiny? Is it too close to the Galarian shiny? I don't know. But overall, I think thinking of this thing like a little nocturnal Zigzagoon running around, I do think it does work pretty well. I will say this is definitely a fun one to play around with because of the different design elements. There's a lot you can do here. So I don't know. Maybe a rainbow Zigzagoon would have been the better option. This next one was so fun to do. Unlike the other past two that I struggled a little bit with, I actually really had a lot of fun redesigning Lunatone shiny, who was suggested by 𝒓𝒏𝒄. Now, I'm gonna say it, I actually really, really, really like Lunatone shiny. It's a very, very subtle change, but I think it works really, really well. However, I had a very bold idea for this shiny redesign, so let me show you. I decided to make it a blood moon. I don't know why I couldn't resist. I don't know. Something about playing off of the idea of Lunatone being like an eclipsed moon really appealed to me when trying to redesign this shiny. So I think it came out really, really nicely. I obviously changed the body to be more of like a deep blue purple to kind of, you know, showcase that purpley night sky kind of look. And I wanted to deepen up the red because I do appreciate the red in Lunatone's eye, but I felt like going with a darker design, it did mean going with a darker red for the eye to make it pop even more. I don't know. Something about this takes it from like very calm and relaxed to like, this is a chaotic Pokemon. I don't know if I'm the only one who sees it, but I really like how this shiny came out. I think as much as I love the original shiny for Lunatone, I would love this maybe just a little bit more. I think it came out really good. The next one definitely surprised me. I didn't realize how many people would feel so on the fence about Flygon shiny, who was suggested by 𝒑𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈 and Joe the Juggler. Now, maybe I have an unpopular opinion here, but I actually really like Flygon shiny. I think it looks great. I think it might be the best shiny in the line for me personally. I think the only thing to me that could be a little bit better based on the original is just that it's a little washed out. So I think if they were to like add a little bit of saturation to it, it would look really good. But I'm here to redesign shinies, so I wanted to cook up something very, very different. I don't think people are gonna like this one as much as I like it, which is okay. You know, this is me just having a little bit of fun playing around with redesigning shinies. But I wanted to do something kind of crazy with this one, and I think I succeeded in that. Listen, there's always going to be at least one shiny that gets the buttercup effect, okay? This is the one. This is the one I chose. I don't know. I did have another design for Flygon that I'll show you guys in a moment that maybe people will like a little bit more. But this is definitely me taking complete creative liberties and designing the Flygon that I want. And it's very purple and pink coated, which is very cute, I have to say. I really, really like the purple and pink. I think they're a really nice balance on this shiny. And I did decide whether or not I should maybe make the other aspects, you know, the other details in Flygon like a dark purple or a dark pink. But I actually think muting them to like a gray kind of kept it a little bit more balanced without it being super crazy in your face, because I think that at that point it might have been a little too much with having already such bold colors like purple and pink. So I think overall it helped to balance this shiny design, at least in a way that I like. But if you don't like this one, maybe you like this one a little bit more. I decided with this design, it was going to appeal probably to a more broad audience of shiny hunters, and I decided to play a little bit more off of Flygon's ground typing. So I decided to keep with like a sandy body, add in those orange elements that I liked from the original shiny, and also keeping the red that I liked from the original color palette, albeit mine is a little bit more saturated. I just sort of felt like that was the thing that the original Flygon had lost in some of the more recent games. I think the colors look nice. I think just that little bit more punchiness would have worked really, really well in selling the shiny, at least for me. I'm very curious about this one. What do you guys prefer? The original, the buttercup purple pink combo, or do you like this more ground sort of looking shiny? I'm not going to be offended, by the way, if you don't like the pink and purple. That was a very selfish one on my behalf, I have to admit. But this one is hard because I do like all three of them. And like I said, I'm already a big fan of the original Flygon. So it's sort of hard to change something that you think looks really, really good as it is. So it can be a little bit tricky redesigning when there's a lot of elements of the original you like. But I will say I did have fun with this one. I definitely did. And our last Pokemon here of the video for the Shiny Redesigns episode 2 is a suggestion from Sovereign Blastoise. Can you guess who it is? It's the Blastoise, of course. Now, I have to say, as a big Blastoise fan myself, I get it. You know, I do like when shinies that are blue turn purple. I think it's a very safe look and I think it looks great. But I'm going to be honest with you. I've been very reserved in my shinies in this video. I've been holding back, okay, on my redesigns, okay? Because I wanted to stay true to what I think potentially Pokemon would change their shinies to. But not with this one. With this one, I went all out. I decided, what is the shiny that our boy Blastoise deserves? And you know, there's only one answer to that. I made Blastoise Bowser!
LeBron James, scream if you love MLG.
Of course I did, okay? Listen, you can say whatever you want to say. You can say, wow, I don't really like what you did with Flygon. Wow, I'm not really sure that I like what you did with Espeon. I don't really think that the coloring works for Pikachu. That's okay. That's okay. But you can't tell me this isn't cool. I literally looked at this suggestion and instantly I was like, this is gonna be, I say it as a joke, but genuinely I think this would be such a fun shiny, would be turning Blastoise into Bowser. Paying homage to another very popular Nintendo franchise. Once again, I can't help myself but make a shiny that I know that in no world or universe Pokemon would ever make into reality. But I don't know if I should say I'm sorry or you're welcome that this exists now, but there you go. And with that, I'm gonna wrap up another Redesigning Your Shiny Pokemon Suggestions video, episode 2. Episode 2. I already am working on episode 3 and 4 as we speak. I love making these videos so much. They're so much fun. As I said in the first one though, it does take me kind of a while to get through the actual redesigning of each Pokemon because I try to take my time. I mean, there are a lot of colorways that you guys don't end up seeing in these videos because I always pick the ones that I think are the most fun ideas or concepts. And the ones that I think look the best, at least in my opinion, you know, I could be wrong, but you know. As always, if I've redesigned a shiny Pokemon in this video that is one of your favorites, it doesn't mean that I hate it. This is all just in a bit of fun, redesigning suggestions from the community and seeing what we can come up with. And as I said, this is a really fun outlet for me, so I really enjoy these. If you have any suggestions I haven't done yet, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video and I will add them onto my list. I am slowly chipping away through all of them. I feel like a lot of people are on the same page with a lot of these shinies that they wish to see change, so that kind of helps. But as always, I appreciate you guys watching this video and I will see you all in the next one. Bye 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 bye.